This story is about Miss Buck Buck, my wonder chicken. I hope you all will enjoy knowing Mrs. Buck Buck, Ms. Buck Buck, the way I did. One of my very first memories of my life was about chickens. We lived up the hill from Mrs. Hall, and on her farm she had all kinds of different animals. I used to love to go down and visit Mrs. Hall because she would babysit me sometimes. And one day I escaped from my house up on the hill and scooted down to Mrs. Hall's house and was going to knock on the door, but there was an obstacle. It was a bunch of chickens, and as I remember it, their beaks were just about my eye height. So I chickened out. I didn't go visit Mrs. Hall. I scooted back home, and my family never knew I was gone. Not too much later, maybe I was about 4, I was in nursery school, in our one-room schoolhouse. We had been in nursery school for a short while, and we had the opportunity to have a show and tell. And of course, I begged, oh, can we have Miss Buck Buck come? Can she come to show and tell? Please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. Yes, she can come. Well, I have to tell you, Miss Buck Buck was really smart and funny. And the first time I ever met her, Mrs. Hall said, "Come here, I want to show you something." We went into the hen house, and there, sitting in the hay, on the nest, was Kitty, warming the eggs for Mrs. Hen, who was out getting a little something to eat and having a break. Mrs. Hall slid her hand underneath Kitty and pulled out an egg and put it in my hands, and I could feel that egg kind of moving. Tap, 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 tap. Looking, she goes, Mrs. Hall says, "This little one wants to come out and meet you, but it's going to take her a little while." So she slid the egg back underneath Kitty. A short time later, maybe the next day, I don't remember it that well, here she was. I saw her for the first time. She had pecked her way out of the egg, and she was lying, all her feathers wet, just stretched out, exhausted from having gotten herself here. And I can't explain it because the other chicks were just regular chicks, but Miss Buck Buck was different. And maybe we just imprinted on each other from me getting to hold her that way. She, because Kitty helped incubate her, she loved to purr. And she would also kind of walk up and rub along my legs, like a cat does. It came very naturally to Ms. Buck Buck. And being around all those farm animals, another thing that she loved to do was, especially when she was happy to see me, she would bray like a donkey. I am not kidding. She would go, she was a Rhode Island Red, just so you know. She'd start, she'd get really loud. Oh my goodness. And we all just thought that was so neat. So, this is the bird I'm bringing to show and tell, kindergarten. Of course, all the other kids in the school went, "We love Miss Buck Buck. Can we please, can Miss Buck Buck come to school and learn with us?" Well, this was the 1950s. Things were simpler then. One-room schoolhouse, parents, people in the community went, "Oh, that sounds okay, but tell us why you want her." And we didn't say why, we just said, we promised. We were making promises. We'll be the best students you ever saw. We'll do our homework. No one will ever have to say anything to us about studies. We will be the best students you've ever had. And people in the community and the other parents are going, "Sounds like a pretty good deal for a little chicken feed." So we were allowed. Miss Buck came to school, and they made her a blackboard that was as long as our regular blackboard was. It sat up against the wall in our classroom, right below the blackboard that we had. And so while we kids were trying to figure out if we were left-handed or right-handed, Miss Buck, she wasn't left-winged or right-winged. She was beaked. You were beaked. She would hold the chalk in her beak, and she would make her letters on her blackboard. Big A, little a. Because of course in the 50s we printed, right? Right. So it wasn't much longer. She was so smart. We came into school and we had a poem that Ms. Buck had written for us kids. And she had to keep it short because her her blackboard wasn't that long. Roses are red, violets are blue. You all are my favorites. I love you. And she didn't sign her name. She just tapped her foot in some chalk dust and went on the blackboard. And that was always how she signed her work. It was her chalk. So she was the school mascot. Everything revolved around Ms. Buck. So when we had literature class, we wrote stories about her. When we had art class, we made bookmarks and drawings and all kinds of things about her. If we did a skit, she was included. And we even in science class, and we built her in an agility course on the side of the school, and we would entice her to run through that with worms and caterpillars. And when she got out of the final tube, she would step back and she would do the moonwalk. We loved Miss Buck. She had so much personality, but she was also an emotional support animal. She could tell when a kid was having a bad day. And she would go up to that child and sit next to their foot after she rubbed on their legs. And she was fine with being picked up. And they would hold her near their face, near their neck, and she would make that comforting purring sound. Well, she also was very musical. And so when we were supposed to take naps right after lunch, she would hum us a lullaby. Thank you. That's not over though. Let's see. Our little town got a stoplight. It made it so we had one stoplight. We came in the next morning. Here was a note on the blackboard. Ms. Buck, I love you kids. I want to keep you safe. I want to be a crossing guard. So the town talked it over. They made her a reflective vest. She had a sign tucked underneath her right wing, and her left wing was the enforcer. And she would walk out into the road and put on the face. Don't you be walking here. I'm keeping these kids safe. Well, pretty soon, tourists heard about her. And they came to our town because they wanted to see her in action. And some years later, we had a billboard that said, Miss Buck keeps our town safe. Time came for Miss Buck to retire. And everybody was so curious as to what she wanted to do. What's next for Ms. Buck? The weekly newspaper had a full page, headlines, great big letters. Ms. Buck, what's on your bucket list? So we came into school the next day and she said, I want to open up a miniature golf course. I want to call it Ms. Buck's Peck and Putt. And And so that went along for a while, and then she got retired from that. Oop. And then she retired from that, and you'll have to wait till next year to find out what happened next.